Jurassic Park is back, or should I say Jurassic World is back. Either way, you guys know what I'm talking about. But seeing as how the IP is hot, let's do a Jurassic video. I haven't done that in a minute, so let's hop back on the IP, and then again in July, we'll post more and more Jurassic content. So obviously, we're going to be talking about Jurassic Park. But I also had a pretty neat idea of, trying to talk about another dinosaur / prehistoric IP, that being Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. You guys obviously know what Jurassic Park is, but if you haven't seen Primal, get on that. At least the first season, that is. It's a very fun anthology-based series, and it follows two protagonists being, Spear and Fang. And while these guys can't talk and there's barely any dialogue, the show does an excellent job of conveying storytelling without, dialogue. It's a fun show, lots of action, lots of gore, and most importantly, lots of dinosaur and prehistoric monsters. We've got raptors, mutated humans, apes, zombie dinosaurs. You guys gotta get on Primal. But with that being said, Spear and Fang obviously have a great deal of experience fighting, dinosaurs. But obviously these encounters are few and far between, which is why I wanted to make a video analyzing if they could make it on the various environments shown to us in the Jurassic Park franchise, everywhere from Site A, B, and then in the recent trilogy you obviously have the park now open, as well as the Biosyn environment as seen in Jurassic World Dominion. We're going to be plunking our two MCs from Primal in each of these environments to see if they have what it takes to survive Jurassic Park. But with that being said, if you enjoy videos of this variety and you think this topic is interesting, then be sure to at least consider subscribing to the channel. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I think we can really hit it at this pace. We post tons of videos, shorts, and we even stream multiple times a week.
Chat. She don't look what I see though. What is that?
And if you're old here, thank you for the support. It's always appreciated. And hey, this goes to both of you guys. Be sure to like the video as it helps the channel on the algorithm. I know you guys only hearing that nonsense, but it's important. It's said for a reason after all. But with the self-shilling out the way, seriously, subscribe. Let's get on the topic that you guys clicked the video for. I figured that we should go over these guys first to see what they bring to the table as a duo before we start to plug them into these environments. And one important thing to establish before we get into the scaling is that Fang and Spear are physically relative in terms of sheer AP. And while yes, Fang is obviously stronger, she's not so much stronger that her headbutts and physical shoves, which are shown to split trees, steel cages, and even stone pillars, aren't potent enough to kill or fatally injure Spear. And he has also shown the ability to draw blood from her with a combination of his physical blows and weapons, meaning both parties are relative in this category. And I also want to point out that during this fight right here where they established relativity to one another, Spear was pretty much starving as Fang was hogging all the food, which was the premise of the whole episode. So yeah, these guys are relative once again. So let's dive into the quantifiable ramifications of the sentiment. While at a low end, we see a feat that scales to both of our characters, as Fang is shown to easily destroy 2 stone pillars to free Spear, with this feat finding itself to be in the small building level ranges of attack potency. Spear also survives being at the epicenter of this, motion, so yeah, that's some more consistency for him being a superhuman level character. So I don't want to hear any of you guys say that he would be raptor food or anything like that, especially when he's shown that he is way more capable than any human could ever hope to be. These ranges of attack potency and durability are also shown to be consistent, as in the second episode of season 2, Spear and another T-Rex who Fang should be relative to are able to endure a building destroying blast, which would find itself in the small building level plus ranges, almost close to a building level, just baseline. And Spear and this dinosaur survived it. Overall, there are tons of calculations that get this verse anywhere between wall to small building level. I'm gonna play these instances on screen now so you get an idea of how consistent it is, rather than me explaining every single instance that's ever happened. So with that out of the way, I think we can move on to some of the higher ends, as well as some more contentious peak ends after the fact. So yeah, so firstly, we're gonna have to go back to the instance in which Fang tackled herself out of a steel cage, as calcs have asserted that in this instance, she was able to generate energy equivalent to 6.6 tons of TNT, which is comparable to what would be required to destroy a large building. Seeing as how both parties are relative, Spear would also find himself in these ranges at best, And to be honest, I think that's where they cap comfortably, like anywhere between building level to large building level. But there are some higher end calcs, like we have an instance of Fang roaring and seemingly creating a cave in, which would get into the city block level ranges if taken seriously, but compared to the other feats, this could be kind of asserted to be an outlier, or at best a high end. But hey, it exists, so I talked about it. And hey, if her tackles can generate large building level, energy, maybe these guys are actually city block level. But once again, I'll leave that up to you. And if we're talking about higher ends in AP, I can't not mention the fact that Spear turned into a mutant human after drinking some of the black goo in this episode right here. I'm not going to say that he has an infinite amount of it, obviously he does it, but for this scenario, I'll give him a little cup of it. Why not? And yeah, this potion makes him so much stronger that he was able to ragdoll and dismember a character who was, previously shown to like ragdoll Fang. So Spear in this state is massively stronger than like a large building level character. So maybe this version of Spear is city block. So yeah. In terms of speed, Fang and Spear would be in those subsonic ranges, as they can consistently react and move in tandem with like arrows, as shown during, pretty much the majority of season 2. But perhaps most blatantly, they were able to combat, react, evade, and trap the Night Feeder, a creature which was shown to blitz Triceratops and saber-toothed tigers alike, granting them pretty consistent subsonic speed scaling. Like, it's pretty blatant. Fang is running away and evading a character who could like blitz Triceratops. I don't want to hear anyone say that he's human level speed. And I want to move on to some of their battle accolades now. These guys have fought in many wars, like unironically. They've combated and defeated tons of monstrous beings, dinosaur just monsters alike. Fang has taken out snakes that are like quadruple her size, like off-screen unironically. And yeah, sometimes these beasts get the better of one of these combatants, but once they work together, it seems they can do pretty much anything, which makes them an especially dangerous duo. They are able to survive in a plethora of environments, whether it be, rough snowstorms, deserts, or jungle biomes. They can pretty much survive. Like, they were so good at it that it took the forces of hell itself to finally bring Spear down. Rest in peace, GOAT, by the way. So with their statistics and what they bring to the table covered in its entirety, let's move on to how they would perform in each of the environments from the Jurassic World franchise. Isla Nublar is the original location of the OG Jurassic Park, and after the events of the OG film, the environment was pretty much abandoned and left to thrive naturally. This time period between Park and World is pretty broad and never really talked about, but thanks to an in-universe site written from the perspective of the Dinosaur Protection Group, we know some things for certain, such as the creatures that likely resided on the island due to us having a list of the active dinosaurs cited during, 1994. I'm gonna put these instances on screen now so you can read it for yourself, so yeah, just let me know when you're done reading. Obviously, we have a wide variety of species to go over here, but seeing as how a majority of the list is composed of herbivores, which are portrayed to be relatively peaceful in this verse, I doubt that Spear or Fang will have much to worry about in regards to them. So that really just leaves us with the aggressive carnivores, such as this thing. I don't know how to say its name, don't cook me in the comments. It should be on screen anyways. There's also possibly some raptors, it's kind of hard to tell, and we have compies as well. And after all of that, we have the Queen of Nublar herself being Rexy, and yes, she's the strongest thing on the island, by far. This should be pretty easy to just assert, but there's a couple of statements that confirm this to be the case. And honestly, I'm just gonna say it, this is by far the easiest environment that Spear and Fang will have to deal with, as the only thing that's really threatening them is Rexy. And I mean, they've already fought a T-Rex, but like just super amped, as together they could handle the Alpha T-Rex, who is physically shown to be superior to Fang individually. Keep in mind, these guys can survive blasts like this and can output large building amounts of energy in like their shove. So yeah, these guys have being a T-Rex but bigger and stronger. So I mean, what's Rexy gonna do? Her best scaling that's not inverse comes from the fact that she's relative to Buck, who could output this level of damage to a bus, which unfortunately only gets around small building to building level. I know I usually say that a lot of the calcs in the verse got up to large building level, especially in this instance right here, but apparently got super debunked, so that's kind of a rep for Rexy. So yeah, none of Nublar's population is really threatening our two guests, and to be honest, I think the raptors pose the biggest of said threat, but considering the fact that there might not be even that much of them left, it's kind of a non-factor, you know? Because I mean, at best, the numbers are pretty scarce, and they're not like injuring Spear and Fang. They're too weak. This is how Rexy did those guys, and you know, Fang is stronger. Food is also not an issue on the island, as apparently it used to be inhabited by a fisherman-like tribe. So it's safe to say that the rivers have fish. You know, Spear eats those. He should be fine. In the OG Jurassic Park book, there's also possums on the island. I'm not sure if that scales to movies, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were other like mammals that he could eat. And worst comes to worst, he could just eat some of the dinosaurs, which he should be able to do. So overall, with low difficulty, Fang and Spear could easily thrive in the OG Jurassic Park environment. But we have 3 other places that we're going to put them in, so let's not waste any more time. Site B is where all the dinosaurs from the OG movie came from, and they were transported from there. So it stands to reason that this island has much more dinosaurs than Nublar. And just looking at this landmass, and it's massive, especially compared, I don't know what I'm talking about, compared to Nublar. And due to a tropical hurricane, which forced everyone to leave the island, the population was left unchecked and was left to thrive naturally on its own. So in terms of the fauna, everything from before should be applicable when talking about this Site B. But that's a lowball, as there are other dinosaurs that were bred here that, due to the events of the OG film, weren't able to be transported to Nublar. So here's InGen's full list of its assets, which is a pretty good place to start when trying to find out what kind of dinosaurs are on this island. We also have some new dinosaurs that were cloned here illegally after the events of the Lost World, with the most prominent of these dinosaurs being the Spinosaurus, who is stated multiple times to be the king and alpha of the island, with the director of Jurassic Park 3 confirming that he could cause a mass extinction event if he wanted to, meaning that he should be capable of beating everything on this landmass in a 1v1 encounter.
Replaced T-Rex, and so we went after a dinosaur that literally could cause an extinction on the island.
So to save time, I think the best place to start is to talk about whether or not these guys are capable of defeating the Spinosaurus, as I think that's a pretty good place to start if we're going to talk about their well-being on this landmass. But don't worry, that's not the only factor that goes into whether or not they should be able to survive on this, island. So how powerful is the Spinosaurus? Well, we have none other than Spinosaurus the King, who's here to answer that question. Just kidding, I got y'all. Alright, seriously though, how strong is the Spinosaurus? And overall, he'd fall into similar building level ranges, but to a deeper degree than our last, combatants, as he's stronger than Buck in a pre-Jurassic World era Rexy, so he should upscale all of their showings. Also, he's able to, slam through a gate, which is some casual, small building level plus showing, I think. I think he even gets the building if you use some calculations, but yeah, that's pretty consistent. But I think I can give him some, building plus level ends, because apparently, according to a guidebook, he's never lost a fight on the entire island, except for the time where he got struck by lightning in the middle of his combat. So he was really fighting a character who was relative to him and needed to get struck with, building level amounts of energy to be defeated. So I don't hesitate granting him some building plus level ends, but unfortunately, once again, Spear and Fang have shown to be quite dynamic in their capabilities. They're able to fight creatures that, outnumber them, outscale them, and they might just even be stronger than them, right? They always just seem to find a way. And plus, large building is bigger than, building plus. So to answer the question, I don't think anything on the island is, stronger than them put together in terms of brute force, but there's some other things I want to talk about, on their stay in Site B. Unlike Site A, this place actually has a pretty decent raptor population, We see them in Jurassic Park 2 and 3, so. Well, once again, this isn't an issue because we saw Spear and Fang handle a whole horde of raptors. They didn't fight them head on, but they were able to escape them. Remember, the question is if they could survive Site B. And plus, those raptors are more than likely stronger and faster than the ones from JP due to the scaling in Primal, which has higher ends more consistently. The animals in this verse are so busted that they slap, Triceratopses and they explode. That's crazy. So they should be able to take on any dinosaur pack, they should be able to evade them. Also, there's pterodactyls, and once again, these guys have shown, experience fighting entire hordes of winged creatures. So I think that if worst came to worst, they should be able to fight anything that tried to press them. But Site B is so big that, you find a contained space of it. They could definitely survive this place. A little kid from Jurassic Park 3 was able to last 2 weeks out here. I should have just started this segment by saying that. They would be able to survive Site B with, I think, albeit medium to possibly high difficulty depending on the situations they find themselves in. And just like that, we're our last two environments seen in the Jurassic World franchise. And forgive me because I'm going to be breaking continuity for a second to go over the duo's chances in the Biosyn Sanctuary as seen in Dominion, as I think that place doesn't pose as much a challenge as, World does. Not to imply that, the Giga is weaker than the Indom or any of the theropods on World, because Giga is top dog in terms of theropods. He just is. Slam peak Rexy harder than the Indom did. But yeah, that's something I have to talk about. This little environment has the Giganotosaurus, Buck Ando, as well as the strongest version of Rexy we've ever seen. But that's not really a big issue for these guys because once again, Primal is just stronger than Jurassic Park. So, the top tiers wouldn't really affect them. I could just say Spear and Fang have fought worse. There's also the fact that this place has a nice little environment going on. It was made to be a sanctuary, and ironically, we know that it has deer, and stuff of the sort. So, I hope no one's really disappointed by this, but yeah, Spear and Fang could, thrive in the Biosyn little gyrosphere they got going on. But here are some takeaways. All of the top tiers should be in that building plus level range, as they can shrug off, bites from Rexy. As due to a durability showing from Indom, we know that Rexy's bite force we get in the building level ranges. So, that's some casual building plus stuff. So yeah, despite these guys being able to survive the gyrosphere, keep that in mind because we're going to be talking about more AP as well as a lot of situational factors as we dive into the last environment that I'm going to pluck our two characters in. As I think that Jurassic World poses the biggest threat to, Spear and Fang for a multitude of reasons. As for this scenario, we're going to be leaving Spear and Fang on this hypothetical, Site A post-world, but somehow the Indom is still around. So basically, it's going to be the Fallen Kingdom Island, but Indom is alive for whatever reason. And yeah, she poses the first major threat because besides the fact that World has all the assets that they envisioned the park to ever have, so it has most of the dinosaurs from Site B on it, the Indom is really just a monster among dinosaurs, which is saying a lot. She's stronger than Rexy, something that's stated multiple times, and it's made very clear just watching the film. She's just a killer in nature, that's all that's on her mind apparently, and she hunts for fun, and she's as smart, or her intelligence is comparable to a raptor. That might not sound too impressive, but considering the fact that raptors in this verse are comparable to chimps and even crows, then yeah, that's not that dumb. And she has a multitude of hacks and abilities, such as, she can sense thermal vision, so she can literally track your body's heat and stuff like that. She has the ability to camouflage, and she's a Primal-esque character, to be honest. She can shrug off getting grazed by the shockwaves produced from RPGs. Her casual headbutts also output small building level amounts of AP, if I remember correctly. And once again, she could shrug off, tons of bites from Rexy, who has building level AP and her just bite AP. So this is another building plus level character. She might even find herself in those large building areas of AP just because of her showing against the Moza. And yeah, Moza killed her, but she was weakened prior and she was still shown to be alive after that first initial bite. This is pretty impressive because the Mosasaur unironically has large building level calcs in her biting AP, and her bite is stated to be 5 times greater than Rexy. Yeah, Indom might actually have large building level AP, so with all those hacks, abilities, mindset, IQ, this is probably the biggest threat to Spear and Fang. But in my opinion, I think that the duo would be able to beat the Indom if it really came down to the wire. Because according to this calc, Fang is slightly stronger than the Indom, not than too crazy, and Spear and Fang are just simply much faster on top of that, Whereas the Indom is shown to be superhuman-esque, where it, scales physically to other dinosaurs. These guys were able to evade and, outrun the freaking Night Feeder, a thing that literally perception blitzes characters and creatures from that Mesozoic-esque era. And plus, worst comes to worst, they can out-AP brute force him, because I gave Spear his black goo, and that was a super Hulk transformation. His casual steps and jumps produce shockwaves that find themselves in the building level ranges. So I think they could cheese a win by doing that if they wanted to, but even if they didn't choose to do that for whatever reason, I still believe Fang and Spear are capable on their lonesomes to take out this, monster. But this isn't the only thing that is a factor on the island, as once again, the Mosasaurus is a thing that's stronger than the Indom. It has a bite force in the large building level ranges. But it is easy to avoid, as that guy's in his tank for the most part, or gal, my bad. So unless they're dumber than I, predict, they should be able to avoid it. And yeah, I think that they could survive for years because everything else is just stuff that we've already talked about. T-Rexes, Velociraptors, herbivores. But eventually, the island's volcano would become active, leading to it, literally contaminating the water and killing the fish. And eventually, it would just blow up. So after a while, they would just have to leave the island. But luckily for them, they've shown efficiency in, sailing away. I think they even made their boat. And plus, they were able to survive much, much more treacherous waters than whatever surrounds Nublar. So yeah, Jurassic World after, the park's closure would probably be the hardest environment for our characters to, thrive in. But I think worst to worst, they could get it done. Meaning that in conclusion, pretty much anything that the verse throws at them, they should be capable of fending off, surviving, evading, and just surviving. As it would seem, on these environments of monsters and prehistoric beasts, Spear and Fang seem to have that primal edge. And just like that, that was the video. Was that the outcome you expected, or do you think I was wanking our two competitors? Regardless of your thoughts and feelings, be sure to let me know in the comments, as it not only helps the video, but it also lets me know that you're a fan of this content, and it tells me to explore matchups similar to this. So, if you're a fan of the content, then be sure to support it. Be sure to join today's stream at around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be playing Choo Choo Charles. I think it should be fun. All of our horror streams have been really, really fun. But if you're not interested in that, as always, I'll see you guys next week. But until then, stay big, G fans.